You are Locked On Clippers Postcast. Part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up? Welcome to the Locked On Clippers Postcast. It's about 3 minutes to go on this debacle. I am Pete Fox, host of the Locked On Clippers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. I've been covering sports in LA dating back to 2007 for both ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. This episode of the Locked On Clippers Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, that is something the Clippers did not do tonight. Get started. What an utter disaster. I mean, this was ugly from start to finish. We'll get into what's going on with Norm Powell. Another anemic single-digit scoring performance from him. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the details as to why this was so painful to watch. And we'll also get into what they can do to, turn things around, get back on track. Where do they go from here? I mean, this was just absolutely painful. There was nothing in this game that made me go, well, at least that was good. Nothing. I mean, honestly, a couple of nights ago, having that run from the bench guys in the ninth, in the fourth, still in baseball mode, I guess. In the fourth quarter there, they made it interesting. When they went to those guys tonight, they just didn't have it. And I think more than anything, you have to give Houston a lot of credit. I mean, this team is very good, both offensively and defensively. Top three in the league defensively, but they can score. I mean, they came at you guns blazing. 6 guys in double figures. Jabari Smith, 5 threes in the first half. Dylan Brooks was 17. Sengun was 16. Fred VanVleet, 7 of 15, 18 points off the bench. Terry Eason, 17 points. And Amen Thompson had 12 points. They just beat the Clippers up and down the floor all night long. Every time, we talked about this a couple of nights ago, that the Clippers would go on runs and then turn right around and give it right back. Well, they did that tonight, but only once. They went on a 9-0 run to start the second, but then Zoo missed a chip shot right at the net, and the Houston Rockets took advantage of that and just put their foot on the gas. And right after the 9-0 run, within a minute or two, the Rockets went on a 12-0 run. They're good at passing the ball, finding the open man, all the things the Clippers did not do. Clippers awful start, 2 of 7 shots, then 4 of 14, and no defense. Just easy peasy for the Rockets and very little offense. Now, again, there are just nights when you're off. And I thought, after that fairly weak performance a couple of nights ago, that they would kind of wake up and say, all right, we got to get back into this. We can't lose back-to-back games to the same team. Well, evidently they can. And apparently the Emirates NBA Cup did not inspire them in any way, shape, or form. The atrocious looking floor was not inspirational to the Clippers. And quite honestly, as everyone described, the criticism of the floors in the NBA Cup is that they're so loud, they're distracting. Totally agree. I was like, it took me the full first quarter pretty much to kind of get my eyes adjusted. It really felt like they were playing on a green screen. Somebody made a joke at one point. The only thing that would make this floor bearable is if they put like Netflix, a show on the floor so we could watch a show while we're watching the game. I mean, it looked like the players were floating above the floor by like an inch or so because it didn't seem like they were actually touching the floor. It looked like, when a weather person stands in front of a green screen. That's what it looked like. I don't know what that's all about other than, hey, we need you guys to know that these games which are right in the middle of our season and count towards our overall record, are also worth something else. We're playing for $500,000 per player in a pool play single elimination tournament. And for those of you that don't understand it and care, I'm going to attempt to explain it to you. I'll tell Daniel, because Daniel's the only one here listening tonight. I think we might have a record low when it comes to viewers and listeners. But the way it goes, it's just like the World Cup, okay? If you're wondering. They play a round robin pool play, 4 games against 4 other teams. There's 5 teams in each group. They play 4 games against those other teams, and then the top 2 move on, and then there's 2 wild card teams, and then they go to single elimination, and then they get it down to 4 because they start with 8 in the single elimination part. Then they get it down to 4, and then they go to Vegas and play a few more times, and then the winner gets $500,000. Lakers won it last year. Clippers were atrocious, awful. They won 1 of their 4 pool play games. Kind of feel like that's going to be a similar situation for them this season in the NBA Cup. So I always think it's bizarre and weird when they do it in soccer, but it seems to work for them for whatever reason, these in-season tournaments. But the difference being in soccer, I think, I'm not a soccer hater like a lot of people are. I'm also not a soccer fan. I enjoy it at times, thanks in large part to Ted Lasso. I mean, the show Ted Lasso kind of turned me on to soccer a little bit. And then there's a ton of documentaries about teams, both on Netflix and Prime, where you kind of go behind the scenes and follow the team, through a season. And those things are interesting. And it's gotten me into soccer a little bit. Don't ask me to tell you the names of all those cups and in-season tournaments that they play, but they seem to make it work somehow. I don't know how, but it does. And I think it's mainly because they stop their regular season down. I think maybe not. They actually probably don't. I think they just put in an extra game into the week that obviously does not count against their overall record. The fact that these games count towards the overall record and the NBA Cup, also bizarre. I will say last year, the finals was kind of interesting. All right. There's something on the line that was kind of cool. But it seems forced to me. That's what it boils down to. Clippers just about ready to wrap this one up. About 25 seconds to go here before they lose their 3rd in a row. But when you look up and down the Clippers roster tonight, James Harden had an okay night as far as his numbers, 7 of 14, 3 of 9 for 21 points. But all in all, he just wasn't making plays. He didn't see just 2 assists, and he's got to be better. I mean, he's the quarterback of this team, really. I mean, although Chris Dunn is starting now and playing more, and sometimes is at the point when Harden is sitting. If Harden is not facilitating, then the Clippers are really going to struggle. And you kind of felt that again tonight, like we did a couple of nights ago, where they couldn't move the ball. They did have a nice fast break. The 350 mark of the first, Kai Jones got a bounce pass, took it to the rack and hammered it down. And you're starting to think, all right, cool. That looked good. Let's get more of that. No. It was just, struggle. Derek Jones Jr., 2 points, played 23 minutes. How do you stay on the floor for that long when you're over? I mean, even Russell Westbrook at times would make a basket. He's the only other guy that I remember seeing on the floor scoreless for such long periods of time. And I don't know that Derek Jones Jr. brings the kind of energy that Russell Westbrook did. We could write it off at times and say, hey, it's okay. He's bringing energy. He's getting the team fired up, rallying the troops, gelling. Everyone kind of takes it up a level when Westbrook comes on the floor. I don't feel like Derek Jones Jr. brings that. So an off night for him, a really, really weak night for Ivica Zubac, 2 of 7 for 6 points, missing chippies left, right, and center. Only got to the line twice, 11 boards, though. I guess that was nice to see. As far as anything else to feel good about, I'll tell you after the break. There was one nice performance from one of the Clipper bench players that I thought was kind of inspiring the team, giving them energy, making plays. Didn't turn into much, but there was times where you're like, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, let's get that going. More of that. I'll tell you who my player of the game is right after the break. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Place to hang out when every game is done, and it is final now. Rockets win it 125-104. Clippers now fall below 500, 6-7, while the Rockets are 9-4 and 1-0 in pool play in the NBA Cup, while the Clippers are still 0-1. They will play again in the NBA Cup. I believe it's next week. I think it's Mondays and Fridays is what it is. I don't know. They play again next week in the pool play of the NBA Cup. But tonight they lose 125-104. And at times it felt like it wasn't even that close. So down by 21, their biggest deficit of the night, 23. We'll take the break. I'll come back and give you the bucket list. Top 5 buckets of the top 4 buckets. I didn't even get 5. But I'll also tell you who my player of the game is right after this. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast, and it's brought to you tonight by Robinhood. Robinhood Gold, to be more specific. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold always allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25 APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on your IRA contributions. Those two numbers are really, really huge. Having played around in this world for the last 10, 15, 20 years, I'm not an expert, but I do know that those numbers are remarkable. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. Generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month, which is a deal, a bargain. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right, Clippers get punched square in the mouth back-to-back nights or back-to-back games in Houston against the Rockets at Toyota Center tonight. Uglier than a couple of nights ago. 125-104. Those guys off the bench did not provide the kind of energy that they did. Although, again, another nice night. In just 10 minutes, Jordan Miller had 11 points. Why aren't we seeing more of him? Why do you have to wait till the fourth quarter? They pointed out that he hasn't played in any other time but the fourth quarter. You guys are struggling all over the place. You got Derek Jones Jr. going over, and the youngster sitting on the bench who comes in and scores. I know it's, garbage time. And I also know that people don't like that term because it's offensive. I'm like, really? It's just a term. We're not saying those guys are garbage. It means it's meaningless time in the game when the game is basically out of control, out of hand, and it's decided already. And, it shouldn't be offensive. It's just a term. Relax. Sometimes people get a little too upset about old fashioned terms in sports. But tonight, the guy that really impressed me the most, that I thought was the most active for the Clippers and played probably the best game we've seen from him all season, was Kevin Porter Jr. 25 minutes, 5 of 10, 3 of 5 from beyond the arc, finishing with 15 points. He had a -6 for his plus minus, which isn't bad considering that all of the starters minus double digits. Derek Jones -20, Zubac -15, Harden -17, Norm Powell -26, and Chris Dunn -19. So Porter Jr., nice game. Couple of threes on the bucket list. For number 5, James Harden hit a 3 at the 2:08 mark of the first quarter. It was important and meaningful because he tied Ray Allen on the all-time 3 list with that 3. It made it 26-19 Rockets. but it was meaningful to James Harden. Not necessarily meaningful to the game or the Clippers, but meaningful to him. To Tyree Allen is a big deal. For number 4, Amir Coffey hit a 3 at the 10-10 mark of the second. That made it 31-26. So Clippers crawling back, creeping back, scratching back, trying to make it interesting. And then Porter Jr. hit a 3 at the 8:26 mark of the second to make it a 1-point ball game, 31-30. He hit another one at the 5:01 mark of the third. It made it 79-63. So not really getting back into it. It was just a nice shot. It just was like, yeah, there you go. I mean, the only guy in this game that's doing anything is Porter Jr. As for Norm Powell, what is going on with Norm Powell? I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the Clippers are not moving the ball well, not getting good passes to him, giving him open looks. So he's trying to facilitate and create on his own. You got to give him credit for that. And I just don't know that he's quite there yet. It's not as if Norm Powell's a youngster, but I've commented in the past that I feel like one of the things that Norm Powell has taken to the next level this season as compared to last season was being able to create his own shot and not just catch and shoot. And that's a big factor for them, because if James Harden is off and Zubac can't put in easy layups, then you need a third scorer. Who's that going to be? It's been Norm Powell, and he's been fantastic, except for the last 2 games where he's just fallen off the face. So I don't know if he's not getting passes or he's feeling too much pressure to be the guy, the number one guy, and create everything, right? I also feel like James Harden has that pressure at times as well. It's, ineffective for both of them. James Harden is obviously better at it, but is also older. And again, tonight, the refs were not giving him those calls. They were also not giving them to Norm Powell, which I totally fine with. Like the flopping and the trying to draw the foul because you're slow and you don't have the ability to elevate. You're just trying to bump into somebody, or somebody bumps into you and you chuck up a shot and fall to the ground and act like you've been, kicked between the legs. It's what James Harden has done forever, right? And he is very good at it. But I think for whatever reason, maybe it just doesn't look as good anymore because he's old. And it looks more like he's trying to draw a foul, as opposed to, I was fouled and I want you guys to know that. It just feels like now he's like, I can't do anything else, so I'm just going to manipulate your vision. I'm going to make this look worse than it is. And they just didn't fall for it again tonight. I'm assuming more than likely it's different group of referees, but they pointed it out on the broadcast, just like they did on the radio broadcast a couple of nights ago, that they just weren't falling for it. And it wasn't just James Harden. They didn't fall for it with Norm Powell either. But Norm Powell tonight was not getting good looks. And a lot of that had to do with just bad pass, fumbled balls. They kicked one out at one point in the second quarter to Terrence Mann, who was sitting there in the corner wide open, fumbled it, then had to pass it off. And then there was like, oh, we got to find an open guy. And then they're passing it around, bad looks. At one time it turned into a shot clock violation for Norm because he was like in the lane trying to find an open man and he didn't want to put the shot up because it wasn't a good look, because Sengun is there, like, guarding the entire rim and the entire paint. So it kicked it out, and bad look, shot clock violation. It was just, I think Jim Jackson said it was discombobulated. I mean, inconsistent for sure, but more consistently bad than anything. Discombobulated, I think, was a good way to describe this game. It was just a struggle from beginning to end. I mean, at the end of the first half, here are the numbers. The Rockets were shooting 51% from the floor and 40% from beyond the arc. The Clippers, 27% from the floor. And is that right? 51, 40, 27, 50. The Clippers shot 50% in the first. Is that right? I guess so. They were shooting the ball okay in the first half from beyond the arc, apparently, according to what I wrote down here. But that doesn't seem to add up to me. I must have made a mistake on my notes. The bottom line is, here's the Clippers 3 for the night, 25%. I don't know what the heck I was thinking there. because there's no way they shot 50 from beyond the arc. So I must have read something wrong and wrote it down wrong. But the bottom line is what I'm trying to describe to you is, yeah, the numbers were awful at the end of the first half and even worse at the end of the game. 37% from the floor for the Clippers on the night, 25% from beyond the arc, 78% from the line. That's not good enough. As for the Rockets, they had a very good night, 48% from the floor and 43% from beyond the arc, led by Jabari Smith and Dillon Brooks, who both had 5 threes apiece. Fred VanVleet had 4 threes, 2 for Aaron Holiday and Terry Eason, who was 7 of 12, finishing with 17 points. So 4 of the 5 starters for Houston in double figures. Sengun finished with 16. VanVleet finished with 18. And Jabari Smith led the way, 11 of 17, 28 points, 11 boards. But I think what you look at when you see this Rockets team, what makes you know that they are a solid basketball team is they don't have one guy that is shouldering all of the load. They have 4 of their 5 starters in double figures, and they play defense. Another thing for the Clippers that we'll talk about after the break is what has happened to the defense. It was great 2 or 3 days ago, not 2 days ago, 4 days ago. It was very good. We sat here and talked about the active hands and the, disrupting passes and passing lanes, bodying up guys at the perimeter and in the lane. All of that has completely evaporated. I don't get it. We'll get into that next. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. Tonight's episode also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. So no pressure. Just win that first bet and you get $150 in free money. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, like I feel like the Clippers are going to turn this around, again, I probably wouldn't have made that wager tonight. So they're going to get blasted, and that would have been my hunch. And if there was a way to wager on the Rockets to win this one by 20, I would have done it. I don't think I would have even needed to check out the latest stats or view live play-by-play or anything like that. But that's what's available for you right there. So much more on the same page where you make your bets on FanDuel.com. Check it out to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So the Clippers fall, get shellacked tonight by the Rockets. Game 1 of the Emirates NBA Cup. 125-104. Clippers now 6-7. Rockets 9-4 and 6-2 at home. They're on a nice little run right now. I believe the 6 of their last 7 in the win column. So they definitely got it working and feel really good about themselves. I don't know what's going on with the Clippers defense. It felt like they had energy tonight, but everything was just slow, especially at the perimeter. How many times during this game were we sitting there going, wide open 3, boom, wide open 3, boom. I mean, they moved the ball well, and we know obviously that gives you open threes, but the Clippers just were not providing energy at the perimeter and giving them just bad look or easy looks at 3. Again, 40+% for them from beyond the arc, 43, 19 of 44. That is lighting it up from downtown. And then you got Zoo missing chippies under the rack. They had a little bit more energy in the third on defense. They went on a 12-4 run to start the third to get them down 12. That was like, oh, we're only down 12. Everyone was so excited. Down 12. Here they come. No, they're not coming anything. In about a minute, they were down 19 again. So they gave it right back. So 2 runs, one in the first half. They went up 9-0 in the second, a 9-0 run to make it interesting. They were down 8 at the end of the first quarter. So it was just ugly from the start. It was an awful start again. They were 4 of 14 shooting to start. The score was 14-4 at that point. It was just, they were not even in the game. But they got a little bit of momentum, and it wasn't embarrassing. 29-21, steal and a bucket from Coffee at the end of the first to make it a 6-point game. But at the end of the first quarter, 29-21. And then at the end of the half, I mean, they got blasted in the second quarter, 37-25. So they were down big at that point. Third quarter, they kind of leveled it off a bit, a 1-point discrepancy there, 29-28 in favor of the Clippers, and then in the fourth, 31-29 Houston. So the energy was there for a minute in the third, but again, they got a little run going and gave it right back. And then they just started taking bad looks. I just felt like there was literally no defense when they got down 15, 18, 20. Biggest deficit of the night, I think, was 23. And they just kind of phoned it in at that point, rightfully so. I mean, you can't always be digging yourself out of 20-point holes. So I understand that the defense kind of just said, we're done. We're not going to continue to try to beat ourselves over the head and get back into this game. It also makes sense as to why that second group that came in a couple of nights ago in the fourth and did well did not have that same kind of luck tonight. Bones Highland came in, only played 8 minutes, scored 7 points. Again, decent in that short amount of time. But the Rockets probably weren't playing a lot of defense at that point either. So in 8 minutes, Bones Highland had 3 buckets, including a 3. Terrence Mann, 13 minutes, 1 of 4, 2 points for him. So a big time off night for him. Amir Coffey, 3 of 7, 1 3, 10 points. That would be considered an off night for him. Jordan Miller, 10 minutes, went to the line a bunch, 9 of 10 for 11 points, only had 1 basket. Kobe Brown, 10 minutes, 2 of 7 for 5 points. So those guys had a little bit of energy, but really the Rockets were so far in front at that point. They just kind of said, all right, whatever. I don't think we're ratcheting up the defense really there, but honestly, that to me is why this team is falling apart. The defense is just not showing the kind of energy that you need. And I think, like in football, you got to run the ball to throw the ball. In basketball, when your defense cannot when your offense cannot score and keep you in the game, the defense loses their motivation. You can't win games in this league with these kinds of shooters that are prevalent in the NBA. You can't win games in this league, 95-85. Sure, it happens on occasion, but it cannot be your game plan. If you cannot score, then the defense just has too much pressure. And I think that's a big part of why this defense has kind of gone to sleep over the last couple of days. The offense just hasn't been there for the Clippers. I will say tonight that the second chance points for the Rockets were not as in their face as they were a couple of nights ago. The defensive rebounding game was 38 apiece, whereas the Clippers were out rebounded, I think, by 10 or 12 on the defensive boards a couple of nights ago. 19 points off of second chance opportunities from the Rockets a couple of nights ago. It definitely wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad. So let's give them a little bit of credit that they improved that aspect as well. But it just wasn't enough when you're not scoring. You got to score. And I guess we can sit here and hope and keep our fingers crossed that Kawhi Leonard is back sooner before later. There was a little bit of news in that department. They said, Ty Lue referenced it in the pregame, that they think it could be next week or the week after. So at least there's some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. At least a minor timeline. Now, of course, that could change and get pushed and so forth, but at least we have some ballpark idea. Second chance points tonight, not terrible. Houston had 17, the Clippers had 14. So they improved that a fair amount, excuse me, which is a good thing for them, but too many other things that overshadowed that. Really got to be able to score better, and the defense has to be better. I mean, this Rockets team just absolutely took advantage and manhandled. You got to, first and foremost, you got to guard the perimeter. When you get that many open looks at three, this team's a good shooting team. You just can't survive that. So, I don't know if you have to say, like, we'll leave the lane open and guard the perimeter. I felt like there was energy, and I think that's why I'm frustrated. I was watching, like, it wasn't like they were completely lazy. There was energy at times, but they were not closing out on guys at the line beyond the arc. It just too many freebies, too many open looks. So they got to get that cleaned up. They got to start scoring the basketball, and I don't know how you do that. The good news is they are, again, off tomorrow and back at it on Sunday and Monday. So it does not get much easier for the Clippers. Utah is Sunday at 6 as this roadie continues. Then Monday they got the Warriors. Oh yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. So tonight, a 125-104 loss. What am I looking at here? Oh, the Rockets. Sorry, I was on the Rockets page, not the Clippers. So yeah, Utah on Sunday, and then I believe on a back-to-back they got the Warriors. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. But at least the Jazz are a beatable team. That is back home though, so that's good news. Road trip comes to an end, losing all 3 of the games on this roadie in Oklahoma City, and then back-to-back nights in Houston. So Sunday night at 6, and then Monday against the Warriors at 7:30. I will join you guys after that game on Monday because I have Chargers on Sunday night as they will take on the Cincinnati Bengals. And tomorrow, don't forget, we have Locked On Trojans postcast. They start at 1 against the Nebraska Cornhuskers at the Coliseum. I'm Pete Fox. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening and watching. Thanks, Daniel, for your one comment. Appreciate it. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Have a good night. We'll talk to you.